Maryland football makes a statement against Wisconsin.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can just bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Maryland football makes a statement on the road against Wisconsin. Maryland football is doing its thing. They're doing its thing, and they're surpassing our expectations, and they absolutely went on the road and made a statement against the Wisconsin Badgers. I don't think as a Maryland fan we could ask for much more. I don't think anybody in that room can ask for much more. I don't think Mike Loxley can ask for much more. I don't think the players can ask for much more. What they did to Wisconsin is about as good as a road performance as you're going to get against a Big Ten team, winning the game 27-10, a game that wasn't even necessarily close. And we saw all sides. We saw Maryland's offense. We saw Maryland's special teams. We saw all the different sides, their defense come together, all three phases, I guess they say, in football language, come together to take down a solid Big Ten team. And the real question for Maryland football was, how good are we? We've played teams like FAU in Northern Illinois and Towson, teams that everybody knows we're going to beat. Everybody knows that we're going to beat those guys. And we can talk about how we looked good in some of those games and how we had good moments offensively and how Malik Washington showcases arm talent throughout those games, how our defense had been rated a top unit on PFF over those couple of games. You can talk about all those different things. But until you played Wisconsin, until you played a Big Ten opponent, nobody was really going to care. Nobody was really going to care. Nobody was going to talk about us. Nobody was going to rank us. Nobody was going to consider us a good team. Nobody was going to do too much with Maryland football. And to be completely honest, to be frank, I think that's totally fair. A team that lost a lot of different players, a team that brought a lot of new guys in, heavily used the transfer portal, as well as there's a ton of freshman players making an impact for Maryland football. A lot of freshmen. I can't say I disagree. But now we see, after that game against Wisconsin, winning 27-10, that the Terps absolutely made a statement, and they're here to stay in the Big Ten. I don't know if you guys recognize that. I don't know if it's my TikTok. I don't know if it's specifically my social media because it has a lot of this Maryland stuff on it. It wasn't just Maryland fans talking about the Maryland win yesterday. It was more than that. I saw a ton of different videos saying how Malik Washington was underrated, how nobody's talking about this kid at Maryland, Malik Washington, or people aren't talking about Maryland football, or Maryland football should be ranked at this point, whether it's fans, whether it's analysts. I got a ton of different videos on Instagram. I got a couple on TikTok, and usually I don't get any at all that aren't from either like a Maryland fan or a Maryland-focused kind of analyst. I usually don't get very many at all. So the fact that I was going through and getting all these different things, I was like, hold up, Maryland football made a statement. And yeah, just because the media says we did doesn't necessarily mean that. But when you look at what Maryland did to this Wisconsin Badgers team, we absolutely did. So I want to talk about a couple different things that made me like Maryland has it, or Maryland's playing really well. Like I talked about before, our defense had been ranked top nationally in terms of PFF ranking, but we hadn't played anybody. We saw a Wisconsin team not be able to do anything against us, anything at all. Their quarterback, Danny O'Neal, went 14-22, 120 yards, and had an interception. Really solid stat line for the Maryland defense there. I thought coverage was sticky most of the day. I thought we didn't allow him to get going at all. We all know Billy Edwards had that big pass to start the day. Would this game have been different with Billy Edwards? I'm sure it would have looked different, better or worse. I don't really know. But he gave it a shot, and then he kind of got a little bit nicked up again, and he just couldn't get back in the game. You saw him on the bike trying to stay warm, whatever the case was, but he couldn't get back in the game. So Daniel Nealer, starting quarterback, with 14 and 22, 120 yards. We forced him into a terrible interception from Jalen Husky. I thought the defense was nasty all day, and this is where I thought was most impressive. Maryland football knew that Wisconsin wanted to run the football. We knew that was their game plan. We knew they were probably going to run the football more than they threw it. And their leading rusher, Darian Dupree, we stopped in that defensive front that Mike Locksley brought in all these new gadgets and pieces for. Darian Dupree, 14 carries, 52 yards with the 3.7 average. Really solid for Maryland football. Dylan Jones, their second runner, 6 carries, 20 yards, a 3.3 average. Cade Yakamalia, 2 carries, 4 yards. They just couldn't really do anything running the football at all. And so it was great to see a Maryland team be able to stop the run. And that's a huge statement for the Terps, because if you guys remember last year, we struggled all the time stopping their run. And we saw different guys, and we'll talk about more about this over the next couple of days. First of all, Daniel Wingate all over the place. Jalen Husky all over the place. Zahir Mathis all over the place. We saw Cam Rice record a sack. We saw Cindy Stewart, who looks to be the next big thing for Maryland football, record a sack. We saw guys like Edwin Moore Jr. record a sack. He was good up front. Joel Starling's had a sack. But there's a lot of awesome production for our defensive line unit that's coming into a really solid unit for Maryland football. And then I'll touch more about on the offensive side in the second segment, but I do want to talk about the special teams. How about the special teams for Maryland football? A part of the unit that I don't know if I really ever talked about over the past month. It's just not something I'm really it's just not a big storyline. It's not something that a lot of people want to hear about. But we had a blocked field goal in the first quarter for Zahir Mathis, who has just been all over the place in the first couple of games. And you don't know how that game goes if they get points there. I think that's a really important thing to be able to do that. We had a blocked punt, which was huge for Maryland football, from freshman Messiah Delhomme. It's these freshmen, man, that are just having going on an absolute tear for Maryland football. And that gave the Terps the ball at the 28-yard line, and Malik Washington had hit the end zone just 5 plays later, which was huge for Maryland football. And then Sean O'Hara, our field goal kicker, was perfect on the day with 2 attempts, a 49-yarders to highlight the day. So when you get 3 phases, and I'll talk a lot about Malik Washington and the offense next, because that might be the part that most people are excited about. But when you watch Maryland play 3 free phases of good football, it's a breath of fresh air. Because last year, I don't know what we were doing, but I don't know if I can point to a game where all 3 phases played elite. Can't point to or played well. You're rarely going to get like elite. I would say played well. That just doesn't happen. Complete football games just don't happen. I don't care who you are from all 3 phases. Like, can you point to a game last year where that happened? That was an actual notable type of team. Like, I'm not talking about playing one of these teams that aren't very good. I'm talking about a Big Ten quality team. You can't do it. And so watching Maryland make a statement, all 3 phases playing well, I thought was honestly just really awesome. Really nice, whatever word you want to call it, really refreshing to watch for Maryland football. Let's talk about Malik Washington and the offense next. I know you guys want to hear about that. Wow, man, Malik's something. We'll talk about that next. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There's a certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood business thrives, the whole neighborhood thrives. And there's different spots in my neighborhood that comes alive every Sunday during the football season. Everyone in team colors, the energy is incredible, and it feels like the entire block is in there cheering together. It's a kind of place when you walk in, everyone knows your name. The staff are like family, and they've been serving this community for years. Those local spots are what make neighborhoods feel like home, and so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go-locked-on-college to learn more. Before you go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. So let's talk about Malik Washington and the offense, who are electric. They're electric this year, and we haven't seen anything like Malik Washington. I don't know if ever. It's been a really long time for Maryland football if we've seen something ever. I don't know if we've seen a freshman come in with this status and actually live up to the hype so far in the season. He's been amazing. In this game against Wisconsin showed Big Ten, no problem. Wisconsin, no problem. Madison on the road, no problem at all for Maryland football. And it was a delight to see. It was a delight to see, like I talked about, all three phases playing well in the game because Malik Washington was dealing. He was dealing, and you can see from his stat line, 18 completions, only 18 completions for 265 yards. This isn't one of those situations where we got a QB coming in, young guy, who's checking it down and he's throwing it short. Malik is throwing the ball down the field, which I think may be the most impressive thing. He's throwing into Type Williams. He's making the deep ball. He's making some impressive throws. 18 of 34, 265 yards, and 2 touchdowns. There was a couple of balls. I think there was 2 different balls I'm remembering in my head to Octavian Smith where I was like, that is a big boy throw for Malik Washington. That is a big boy throw. Those are throws that I didn't even know if I saw Talia make. He just has a different arm. He just has more arm strength, more arm talent than we've seen from a Maryland quarterback. It's just what it is. And that's what happens when you get a freshman like this. They just make some throws. They make some plays that you just haven't seen a Maryland team or a Maryland quarterback necessarily make. And there was a couple to Octavian Smith. I'm remembering 2. There was one, I think it was early on in the game. I want to say the first drive of the game where he kind of got flushed out of the pocket a little bit and threw it down the field to Octavian Smith. Really big throw. There was another one. It was like similar kind of down the sideline area in a tight window, and he made it happen to Octavian Smith. And shout out Octavian Smith. Big time day for Octavian Smith. 6 receptions, 113 yards. It was awesome to see. And then you had the deep ball to Shalik Knotts, who once again has, to me, has been kind of the highlight so far of Maryland football's year, because I think a guy like Shalik had gone forgotten over the last couple months, I'll say. Forgotten by me, forgotten by others. I don't want to say forgotten, but when a name's never brought up or a name's not being talked about, I'm not going to be as out there with talking about them. And of course, I mentioned Shalik Knotts. I just wasn't sure. I just hadn't heard anything. Nobody was asking about him. No media people were saying he was standing out. But now he's one of our best players, not just one of our best receivers. He's one of our best players. And I think he's right now proving to be the best deep threat / touchdown guy on our team. 3 receptions, 80 yards for 3 receptions, 80 yards for Shalik Knotts. A lot of that came on that big ball over the top for Malik Washington. And we're seeing Malik Washington hit the deep ball. And I don't know if you guys have watched football this year or have watched NFL, college, probably when you watch high school as well. Hitting a deep ball is not easy. It's not easy. I watch every Sunday. I watch a lot of NFL. I watch a ton of quarterbacks overthrow wide open deep balls, like wide open. I watched it very many times. Like there's one sticking out in my head right now, like the Denver Bronco games. I watched Bo Nix, who's considered a pretty good quarterback in the NFL right now, miss wide open deep ball. There's been numerous occasions of it. In college football, there's even more. It's not easy to be able to connect, but it's a difference in having a game that's probably maybe 17, maybe 17-10, and it's a closer game than having a game where it doesn't even feel close. I'm telling you, it's a difference. And to be able to hit some of the deep stuff, the one to Shalik Knotts, I know Octavian Smith had a 48-yard catch. Like, to be able to do that, and then the 62-yard dime to Shalik Knotts, it's a big difference in the game. And Malik Washington's hitting the deep balls. You first have to start with being willing to throw it, having the arm to be able to throw it, because you also see where guys just miss stuff. Another guy, Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you guys watched last week, missed a wide open deep ball. And it's one thing to be able to actually, you have to be able to identify the deep ball, make that read. And that's not easy to do, because I promise you, there's a running back in the flat that you could probably throw to. There's a tight end going for a 5-yard route that you could probably throw to. But instead, Malik's like, I'm going to throw it over the top. And he's recognizing that in coverage. And I think that's really big for Maryland football. So really impressive game from Malik Washington and the Maryland offense. We'll talk more about it over the next couple of days, but I'm thoroughly impressed. I think they're really showing up. I think they're doing some huge things for the Terps, and it's really a breath of fresh air to see. Let's talk a little bit about the MVPs for our game. There's a lot of different guys we could choose from, but we'll talk about that next. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready to kick off with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching the team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick and easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row of your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, it would be the game. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use code LOCKEDON, we'll get your vintage hat for $60.99. Thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use code LOCKEDON for an exclusive discount, because legends wear the game. Let's talk about MVPs from this game. You guys know that I'm always going to do MVPs on Monday after the game. So I want to have an offensive, a defensive, and an overall. I feel like I'm starting to have like a freshman one as well. We'll see where our time's at. I'll think about adding that in. And so we'll start with the offensive MVP. These two receivers make it hard. I feel like it's been the last 2 weeks. Octavian Smith and Shalik Knotts, both of those guys showing up. But, man, Octavian Smith made a ton of really good plays. I know Shalik Knotts had the 2 touchdowns, but Octavian Smith, 6 receptions, 113 yards. Like, as a receiver, to me, that's a dream day. Whenever you get to 6 catches, whenever you get to 100 yards, I feel like those are two kind of marks that it's like, dang, I had a really good day. And Octavian Smith started the year a little bit slow, not like bad or anything, just a little bit slow. Wasn't sure if he was on the same page as Malik Washington. And like I say, I've said this a couple different times. Quarterbacks like throwing to specific receivers. A guy goes one place with one quarterback, and he might have 50 receptions for 250 yards or something like that. And then he goes somewhere else with a different quarterback, and all of a sudden in the year he's 100 receptions, 1,100 yards. It just depends. So I knew Octavian Smith was one of our more talented guys, but I just wasn't sure if Malik, one, loved throwing him the football, or if they were just ready yet. And it was clear we just had to be patient, because 6 receptions, 113 yards, Big Ten game for Octavian Smith. That's exactly what we need for arguably not only our best receiver, arguably, and I know Shalik Knotts is challenging that these days, and Jaleel Farouk obviously as well, but maybe our best player. And the guy that I said was going to step up in a big way, and he's done that the last 2 weeks, has led our team in receiving yards the last 2 weeks. He's been really good, and that's what we need for Octavian Smith. Again, a team that likes to throw the football a lot right now is Maryland football. We threw the ball 34 times in a game where we were up for most of the game, and we ran the ball only 19 carries for our running backs. 34 passes, 19 carries. That's our identity as a team. And so we got to be able to produce some reception, some plays down the field if we want to win. Usually you win a game by you win a game by 17 points. You're usually going to have a little bit more run attempts, but not Maryland football, passing the ball a lot of times. And Octavian Smith is becoming one of the better guys for Maryland football. By defensive MVP, I could literally give it to like 4 different guys. Jalen Husky, though, man, we knew coming into the year he was, again, arguably our best defensive player, arguably our best player. The switch from corner to safety, he's been really good. And he headlines our defense. I think him, Daniel Wingate, and then the 2 edge rushers. Really, a lot of different players are playing well for Maryland football, but he kind of is the big part of the back end of our defense that I think is really talented. I think is going to have a chance to do a lot of different things for Maryland football, but he's playing at a pretty high level right now for Maryland football. He did some really good things for Maryland, and it was pretty good to see him kind of show up in a big-time way for Maryland football. Had that interception early on that we absolutely needed. That was pretty big, but he also was just all over the place. 9 tackles for Jalen Husky. So forces a turnover and gets an interception. I mean, sign me up for that. That's definitely, or forces a turnover and has 9 tackles. That's something we'll sign up every single day. And he's making his all Big Ten kind of push with a lot of other guys. And I know there's plenty more football to go. And then overall MVP, I have to give it to Malik Washington. I just think for him, a freshman quarterback who had only played against opponents like Towson, Northern Illinois, FAU, for him to go into that environment, or I don't even want to say the environment was necessarily that hard, because Wisconsin has their, I don't know if you guys noticed, Wisconsin has their own problems. They had some empty sections in their fan. I know we've had to deal with that at times. But Wisconsin's usually a team that those people eat, breathe, love football. There's not too much else to do out there in Wisconsin. It's similar to what they say about the Packers, but same thing about the school, the university. Those people love football. There's not usually a lot of empty seats, but they did. So I don't want to necessarily say it is still the environment on the road, the travel, all the different factors that you have to deal with as a college athlete that you have to deal with when you go play somewhere. It's not always the easiest thing to do. And we saw a guy in Malik Washington absolutely dominate and look like the best quarterback on the field. And I said it before this. I said, we have the quarterback. We have the best quarterback on the field. I don't care if Billy Edwards is playing. I don't care if Danny O'Neal's playing. And that's why I thought we would have a chance to pull off the upset. And there's different things. That wasn't the only reason. And some of that really came to play. But Malik Washington was the best player in the field, made big-time throws, distributed the ball. And, again, it's not like our run game is going crazy. Like, I know DeJuan Williams played pretty well, 15 carries, 62 yards. Like, it's like, okay. Nolan Ray, 4 carries, 11 yards. Like, that's really not that crazy. He's relying really on himself making throws. The offensive line has been decent so far, I have to say. They've been pretty solid. But he's making a lot of big-time throws. And, again, he's getting his eyes down the field. He's not just checking it down. We're not watching a check down Charlie. I don't think anyone enjoys to watch that. We're watching a guy that's going to take risks, but he's also not turning over the ball, which is also a huge component of this that I haven't even mentioned. He's not turning over the football. What does he have? 1 interception on the year? He's doing a really good job of taking care of the football, and that's something we need. And on the road, to deal with all the different components and road factors, playing the first Big Ten game and leading your team, and everyone trusts that kid. There's a different pep in everyone's step because they know that Malik Washington's elite, and that was really it was really cool to see Maryland football be able to do that. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball, so thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.